Good evening. I'm Blair Bathory, your hostess of Fear House. You're listening to Without Your Head. Sweet Screams.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by the writer and the director of The Laughing Mask. We have Michael Aguiar on the line.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing all right. Neil, how are you?
I'm fine. It's a little cold here. I'm in Massachusetts, but I'm alright.
Yeah, it's really cold here in Florida too.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the 60s, so now every Floridian is grabbing a leather jacket.
Right. Yeah, it's a little cooler here. Now, for people not familiar yet with The Laughing Mask, you want to give them an idea of what the movie's about?
Well, the movie is a revenge tale. Jake Johnson is a protagonist. He had his wife was murdered by the Laughing Mask, and his child was abducted by him. And he through the movie spends the movie looking for the Laughing Mask and trying to find him to exact his revenge. A friend of his is the department, police department chief O'Malley, and she joins the case to try to find the Laughing Mask and find the clues to figure out who is the Laughing Mask.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting is you made the short first, and then the short did so well. Then you made the feature movie. What was that like for you? You make the short, and people are really interested in it.
It was really cool because when we did the short, we really had no idea, um, no grand illusions. We weren't planning on making a movie. We weren't planning on doing anything. We just had a really cool idea for a character, and we were trying to the best of our ability to put that out to people to see. So we did it, and we put it on YouTube. And I didn't even realize how many people, or how much, how many views we were getting. And then all of a sudden it started climbing up to 50,000, 80,000, 100,000. And then we got a distribution offer letter from somebody, and there wasn't even a movie yet. So that's when we're like, well, maybe there's something here that we can that we can build on, because
Yeah.
people really seem to like the character a lot.
hmm Now, when you say that
So it
about
was really really cool.
when you say about the character, when you're making the short, was it primarily, hey, I got this cool idea for a character in the mask, and you put that out there?
The idea, because if you remember, there was a lot going on at the same time that we released a short with Casey Anthony, and the verdict of her not being guilty of her.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea for the Laughing Mask, I had it for a long time, but it was the perfect hook, because she got away scotch free basically for murdering her child. So I figured, what would be the best way for the Laughing Mask, because he punishes the guilty, to actually get a hold of Casey Anthony. But we couldn't do that because obviously lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did the closest that we could to that storyline. So the storyline would be the Laughing Mask kills Casey Anthony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's interesting. I didn't know that backstory, so that's pretty cool. You're kind of a vigilante.
Yeah, he's a kind of a vigilante, but he's crazy. So you would have to watch the movie. I can't give out a lot
Uh,
because of our twist, but there is a reason why he only kills the guilty, and he goes after the people that he does. We also get a glimpse in the movie of his home. We shot that on location at the Wolves Museum of Mystery in St. Augustine, which is a great looking place, and the people there were so nice to us that let us shoot there. So we shot there, and that would be the Laughing Mask's basically his lair, and you get to see the some of the oddities that he keeps, the ones that were really really bad that he keeps to himself, and what he does to them.
mhm. There's a lot of very cool, interesting visuals throughout the movie, like the pig mask and all these things. Were these things you had like in mind, or where do these things come from?
Well, everything that we had was part of the script. The script because it's really difficult to shoot independent feature when you don't have backing, and we didn't have a whole lot of backing. So we shot the script that we could, not the script that we wanted to. So, but all of that was part of the original idea. Yes, the later additions to it, because we did the Pigman especially. He came into the second phase because once people saw the reaction that we were getting to filming, then we got some funds coming in, and we were able to shoot more things. And the Pigman edition and the Puppet Man especially, I think it looks really awesome. And those were all part of the original script. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what was the process like to take, your original short and then, to expand it into a feature-length movie? What was it a hard process? Was it fun, or both, I guess?
The writing process is fun. When you're getting your idea and you don't have any budget in mind, you don't have any concerns, you don't have any constraints in your imagination when you're writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the best part for me, is just putting it on paper. And then once you start breaking down the script and you start working on a budget, and then you're trying to get the money, that's where the no fun part starts.
Right.
And for us, it took us about 3.5 years, so since 2012, to be able to finish it the way we wanted to finish.
Yeah.
Because it would have been easy to just get a couple of DSLRs, get a couple of friends and do it, but we wanted to do all the way. So that's why it took longer, because the elbow grease that it takes for you to actually get financed for a movie, but not only that, a horror movie, because we are looked down. when you're trying to go to a church, for example, and a friend of yours, and he goes, "Hey, you're doing a feature? Yes, maybe I want to come in and help you financially. What is it about?" And then if you say it's a horror movie, they go, "Oh, get out of here, son of Satan!" So it's difficult to get funding going when you're shooting a horror film.
Mm. So, 3.5 years to get this made, and once you have it finished and people are actually seeing it, what's that experience like for you?
It's been great. Really, it has been great, because in the very beginning of the process, when we were still figuring out how we were going to do it, we came across William Schweitzer, which is a fantastic director of photography, and I emailed him basically saying, "I can't afford you." He mailed me back with the list of equipment that he had, because he had the Red Epic, 4K, and he had all those lenses, and I was like, "Well, you have $300,000 worth of equipment. I have, like, at the time, 10 grand. It's like, I can't afford to pay you," because I knew who he was. And then he called me and he was laughing, and he's like, "I don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you want to do." And it was through him that we were able to actually get the movie going. It was through Bill and his expertise and his equipment. And it was the experience of seeing that after 3 years. It was fantastic. The showing that we did at Wolves, we did it twice. We had like 170 people there. So and it was very positive. And it was a blast. I was very, very. It feels like a accomplished journey. It was finally finished after that many years.
Yeah. For people, how can people see the movie right now?
Well, right now we just came back from the AFM, so we went to the American Film Market, and we were offered. Thankfully, we're offered quite a few different distribution offers, and we're going through those right now to try to see what's going to be the best one for us, and hopefully soon I can give you a better answer. Right now, I did select showings. I did the showing in St. Augustine. I did a couple of other states where the fans really, really asked me to do it, and they set up with a group of people. I don't know, 50, 60 people, and then I sent them the screener, and they sent, and then we did like a Q&A afterwards. We did a couple of those, for the people that really been following us for a couple of years now. I didn't want them to wait any longer. But for general distribution, I still can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. No. Well, we'll be waiting to hear how we can see it. So that's very cool. Yeah, and good luck
Yeah,
on that.
it's going to be available. It's going to be available in every platform. It's going to be available in brick and mortar stores like Walmart and
Mm-hmm.
Target and all of that, and also VOD market and possibly Redbox. So that I can tell you for sure. I just can't tell you who yet,
Yeah,
but
no problem. Yeah. Now, the mask obviously is very cool. And who designed the mask? Was that all your idea?
I designed the mask. Yeah, I drew it. I drew the mask, and I had a bunch of different drawings from the original mask. And then after I settled with the design that you saw, there are two different masks in the movie. One is the original one, and the original one was made by my sister. So I brought in about a week before we start to shoot the short. I brought in the drawing to my sister, and I was like, "Listen, I have this. I have no idea how to even make this or what to make it with or anything. I need a mask."
Mm-hmm.
And she did it, and it looked so eerie, and it looked so cool that we ended up keeping it.
Mm-hmm.
And for the after we got a little bit of budget, then we hired a professional, and he did a fantastic job at doing the mask that you see in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all designs that I already had that I was working on for years.
Mm-hmm. I love the action figures that are in one of the trailers. Did you end up keeping those?
Yeah, I made that one. I made.
Uh,
I kept that one. The guy that's sitting down is a Reservoir Dogs action figure. It's
okay.
Harvey Keitel's figure.
Oh, nice.
And the other one wasn't. I have kids, so I have one of my kids' Barbies.
Uh-huh.
And I asked them which one did they want me to kill, and they picked that one. and the laughing mask, I made it. I made him out of some old GI Joes that I had,
Mm-hmm.
and I put it together for that for the little teaser.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that action figure too. I've been
Yeah, it
trying
looks
to
great.
get but yeah, I haven't been able to get people interested in making them yet. So far there is only one.
Uh-huh. So it was the old 12-inch GI Joes.
Yeah, the old school GI Joes. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I took one apart to do that, and the cape, no, the jacket that he's wearing in that's from a Fantastic Four Doctor Doom figure that I had laying about. So we just coupled it together.
Yeah. Uh, that's a weird question. It has nothing to do with the movie, but had you done that before with other action figures? Make like any other characters?
Oh yes, I've done that. I've done it for years because I'm an avid action figure collector. I have my action figure collection. I have over 2,700, and there was a time where Marvel and DC, they weren't really making the figures I was interested in,
Mm-hmm.
so I started making them. So I made an All-Star Squadron from DC Comics from the 40s, and a bunch of Marvel figures, and then I've done a bunch of those before.
Oh, well, that's very cool. I grew up, my older brother, huge comic book fan, and when we were a kid, he's 9 years older, but when we were kids, he would be always kind of doing the same thing, making his own figures of guys that you couldn't get.
Yeah, before DC Comics started with their line of this DC Classics and the new ones where they are doing more unknown characters,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't do any of those. So I decided to make myself.
Yeah. Just quick on action figures. Do you have a favorite like type of action figure? I know when we were kids, Amigo figures were always great, and then later the GI Joes. But do you have a favorite line of action figures?
Well, the one that holds closest to the heart is the Superpowers from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
For those, because you have the Hall of Justice and the Batmobile and the Supermobile and all of those. Those are my, the favorite figures that I have. And the new the 12-inch Migos, I don't have a whole lot of them because I lost them in the move because I'm from Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them were, and I could never get that collection back because now it's so expensive. But I used to love them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have some of the ones we used to. They're not in great shape because we actually played with our toys, but yeah, I still have some of those, Lizard and whatnot. But You mentioned being from Brazil, and I read that you actually learned English from watching movies. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. I didn't know that I even knew how to speak English until I got here, and they asked me questions, and I knew how to answer. It's because the movies are subtitled, so
Hmm.
you're learning English as you go because you're hearing and you can read exactly what the words mean.
Hmm.
So when you do like I do and you watch, let's say, Excalibur 18,000 times, you end up figuring out what the words mean. So
Uh, that's a great movie, Excalibur.
yeah, that's my favorite movie of all times.
Nice. Yeah, I actually have the old clamshell VHS tape because I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of it
I
myself.
do too. Yeah.
So you must have been a movie fan your whole life.
Yes, I've always been a huge movie fan. I've always been a huge horror thriller fan.
Hmm.
And growing up, there was in the 80s there was a lot of slashers because of Jason and Michael Myers, late 70s, early 80s, and then all the other copycats that showed up.
Hmm.
And then I felt that it was a turn more towards the gore than towards the horror part of it, where things were starting to get funny.
Hmm.
So I watched the first Friday the 13th, the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm scared. I watch, you know, Warrior, the number 4. It's more funny. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I what I wanted to do was not to do a horror gore movie, but I wanted to kind of give a thriller type of look on it, which got me in trouble with some horror movie fans. I have to admit.
I never quite understand the whole when people like battle over what genre a movie is, if it's horror or thriller. I never quite understand that. I mention that on the show all the time. To me, if it's a horror movie, actually, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. It doesn't really matter what.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that wasn't really classified in a genre. And I've had people that came to me and goes, your movie is not a horror and it's not. It looks like it's a thriller. I was like, well, it's because it's more of a thriller with horror tendencies. I didn't really want a classification. I just want to do a cool movie. I don't want to be, you know, stuck by, well, I can't do this because this is slasher, or I don't want to do that because that's, this. I
Hmm.
wanted to be just a cool movie that everybody could watch.
Yeah. You mentioned those slasher, and obviously, the slashers have like they all have iconic like the villain, and that's a big part of the Laughing Mask is the villain, and I've noticed that there are a lot of that kind of movies making a comeback, and I always think it must be because a lot of people like yourself grew up watching movies like that, and now when you're making movies, you want to make movies sort of like something that you grew up and enjoyed.
Exactly. Yes, I do. I always Friday the 13th is one of my favorite movie series
Hmm.
for horror. I always liked it. Jason is just the motivation of the character is always you're just going to get killed. You never have to fight very hard to understand Jason and the movies are just exactly what they are. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They weren't trying to be anything that they're not. You're going to Crystal Lake, you're going to have sex somewhere, and then you're going to get killed.
Right.
so so I love the simplicity of it. Friday the 13th, one of my all-time favorites. That and Freddy, of course.
Hmm.
And when we were trying to design the Laughing Mask, the look of the character and his weapons of choice, him using mostly blades throughout the whole film, that was an homage to that era.
Hmm.
The mask itself there was a huge influence by Jason's mask, for example, and Ghostface Killer, and how much fear you can cause by just seeing the mask.
Hmm. Yeah. Those I do have a question about Jason. Do you prefer like where Jason's kind of like a basically a living guy out in the woods, or do you like him when he's more of a zombie in the later ones?
I never liked the supernatural Jason. I like that he is just a good old guy in the middle of the woods.
Uh huh.
He saw his mom
I
killed,
agree 100%.
and
By the way.
and
Uh huh.
that's what made the character for me. It's like he saw his mom getting killed by all these kids, so
Hmm.
every kid that shows up over there for him it's the same kid that killed his mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that I always saw Jason's motivation, is that he's getting revenge for his mom. Every teenager looks the same to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the person that decapitated his mom.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Well,
Just the other week was very cool for Friday the 13th. My friend Annabelle and I, um, they were showing Friday the 13th films actually out in the woods here in Boston by a lake.
oh, no
And,
way.
yeah, so it was really great. So it was and they had a Jason actually walking around, a guy dressed as Jason, and they had a cabin and everything. It was awesome. But I always like for me the first four movies they tell a nice like long story. And I think I actually think it's a little scarier too that he's a real person as opposed to like the nonstop uh, like a zombie that cannot be killed.
Right. That's why Freddy got tiresome.
Hmm.
I don't think that they wanted to do more than one Freddy movie. I think that it made money and then they kept doing it. But
Yeah.
I think that if you watch the first one, it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the story ended right there.
Hmm.
But once that type of supernatural killer starts coming in, it just turns silly to me. So yes, I agree with you 100%. The first four Friday the 13th are the arc of the story, and then it just some silliness, which was normal then in the mid '80s. That was
Hmm.
after the first four. Yeah, when he goes to New York, I just kind of gave up. Except the scene he kicks the radio. That was hilarious. But
Yeah, yeah, and then he's zapped to space, but you
yeah, I went to. I was the one guy that went to the theater to see Jason in space.
know.
Jason X.
Uh-huh. I just mentioned earlier, actually, just I think yesterday, because someone asked something about Jason Goes to Hell, and I always remember as my friend Joey and I went to the theater to see it, and there was one other guy in the theater, and my friend Joey and I, we were laughing because we're having fun. We were in high school, and it was a very silly movie, and the other guy he was pissed off the whole time, and then he just stormed out when the movie was over. He was not happy that we were laughing and having fun during
Well, but that's
Jason
the
Goes to
point
Hell.
of those movies. They got to the point where they're silly fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not really like it's perfect example for me is the first Evil Dead and the second Evil Dead.
Mhm.
They're the same movie, but one is really hardcore horror, and the other one is what everybody fell in love with, which is a
Yeah.
mix of the humor and the horror.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Because the second one really is like a remake of the first movie, only with a little more budget, and it's just really nonstop silliness. It's almost like a
Right.
live
It
action Bugs
felt
Bunny
like it.
version.
They said, "Listen, we really like this Evil Dead idea that you had. Now here's some money for you to actually do it." You know?
Right. Uh-huh. So this is the first feature film you've directed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So what was that experience like? Directing your first film.
It was like, and I think I've read a quote from Clark Gregg, that guy from Agents of Shield, yeah, about directing his first feature, and he said that it was like jumping out of an airplane uh, with the parachute that was disassembled and just having the instructions. That's kind of what it felt like. Because I don't think that people realize, and I didn't, how much work it actually goes into if you're doing it correctly.
Hmm.
And that was a hell of a learning experience. And I had my luck is that I'm a film geek. So before I did the movie, I went and I researched it, and I watched as many interviews as I could from my famous directors,
Hmm.
and what they did with their first feature. So I found some really old footage from Quentin Tarantino saying that basically that he was the least experienced person on set when he did Reservoir Dogs. But what he did is that he hired the best DP he could. He had a really great script supervisor, and he surrounded himself with people that could help him bring his vision to life. That's basically what I did.
Hmm.
So the directing itself was a lot of fun. Dealing with the actors was a lot of fun. It was a blast. I mean, I just loved doing it. But the technical aspect of it, I owe a lot to the people that were around me when we were doing the show.
Hmm. I really liked the use of kind of like cartoons and the old timey music because it was a nice, the contrast with the violence that's going on screen. And what was that? Was that? I assume that was since you wrote and directed. Was that something that you thought of doing, and was it for that purpose to have to have the contrast with the violence?
Yes. What I wanted to. How much of the movie did you see?
I seen the movie. I saw the whole movie.
Oh, you saw the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. What I wanted to depict there was that's basically for him, for the character of the Laughing Mask. That's what's going on with his mind. So it is just for him. He's not really doing violence. He's not doing anything violent. He is just crazy. That's the Looney Tunes that's going on in his head.
I like that. I like that. And it really was. I thought it was really unique for a movie to use the music from that era.
It hadn't been done before, and that was my homage to another movie that I really like, which is Angel Heart. And that song from Angel Heart, it always stayed with me for years and years and years as very, very creepy, especially towards the end. Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
So towards the end, where Robert De Niro puts the record on, and that record playing as the entire flashback sequence is going through, that scene always stayed with me, and how powerful music is through the entire movie. So what I wanted to do is, if you hear that music or that type of music coming on, you know you're in trouble. And it also, a lot of people didn't catch on this, and that's probably something I should have explained better. But if you listen to the lyrics of the song, they're going to tell you what the Laughing Mask is kind of thinking at that time.
Mm-hmm. Huh. I remember when I was watching it, because there was, like you said, there was one song you played a few times, and it's kind of haunting, and it did have kind of resonated with the violence and stuff that was going on in the film. Even though if you would listen to the song by itself, you wouldn't think that.
Right. It's because it's a sin to tell a lie, and
That's the one,
that goes with the plot. And then when he has on the museum, when he's with the mermaid, and he said basically the song says, "I'll hunt you and I'll catch you, and you're going to be my prisoner from this moment on." And I was like, is this song is really saying all of that? So I put that in there, and the puppet scene when he's pulling the strings, it's who's sorry now, you know what I mean? So we picked the songs kind of based on which of the scenes and what the Laughing Mask was trying to basically tell you, because he doesn't speak. I was trying to pull a bumblebee on on using the song for him to convey his intentions.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, you wanted to make sort of a slash, but not really slasher, and it's thriller, and not necessarily gore, but there is a lot of gore in the movie. And what are your thoughts on the term and the movies that are considered torture porn?
I think there is a market for them. I think there is. I think that anything that you do, especially for film, I think it's art. I watched, for example, I can't use a better example than American Guinea Pig, because I've seen a lot of people using that term and connecting it directly to that movie, and I don't think that's necessarily called torture porn. Is how they want to portray their message. So I think the movie was great. I am not against gore in film. I obviously love it since I'm a horror movie fan. I just have to. I think that there are different for you to use it. So I don't like the term torture porn very much, because it just takes away from what the director or the writer was trying to tell you, what their message was in the movie. I doubt that somebody just sits in a room somewhere and goes, we're just going to put a bunch of corpses over there, going to make it look as nasty as possible, you know what I mean, without any story attached to it. So when I watched American Guinea Pig, I was, number one, overwhelmed by how strong the scenes were, how shocking they were, and how great the special effects were. But also the plot was there. I mean, there was a story. The story was well told, was well put together. They just chose to tell you in a more graphic way. which is not my cup of tea, but to make. But I don't think it's a bad thing for the genre.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it gives some of the horror movie fans an expectation. For example, after watching a movie like that and then watching mine, I had people saying your movie had no gore at all. So,
Uh-huh.
so because they're so used to the overabundance of blood and flesh being ripped, and that that's the expectance of horror movies nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Just along those lines, like I'm a big fan of a Serbian film, and obviously it's really shocking. All these, but in the heart of it, it's really well acted and a well-made movie. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't like it. But just because something is really graphic doesn't mean it's not a movie or not a bad movie or not a good movie.
Right. Exactly. They discount it. I've heard that. I've seen a lot of people, and I've read a lot of reviews online. People online are mean as hell, by the way. Especially,
Yes.
they're going after American Guinea Pig, which is a movie that was shot locally, and the people that did a fantastic job. So if you don't like the genre, if you don't like the extra gore or the way that the director and writer chose to portray that message out, don't watch it.
Yeah.
But for you to watch it just to say that there was too much gore, that's kind of like their rice and beans, man. And so you can't really fault the person. That's
Yeah.
how they chose to convey their message.
Why
so.
would you watch that movie if you don't want to see gore?
Exactly. So you don't like gore? Well, that's probably not a good movie for you to go see.
Right. If you don't like singing, you wouldn't watch a musical and say there's just too much singing in this movie.
Right, exactly. Like that Phantom of the Opera, they wouldn't shut up. You know?
We had Sergeant Spasajevic on, who directed the Serbian film, and the comments on it, because I also put on YouTube, are like, they're I hate to say insane, but there's like some people really love it. Then there's people who, not just one person, who were like saying that the guy should be killed, and anyone who likes the movie deserves a bullet in their head. And I'm like, oh my God, people! I mean.
Man, there is some crazy people online, and I tell you, yesterday I read a review for the Laughing Mask. It just made my head spin. I was like, oh my God! Now I had the feeling that the Laughing Mask killed that person's mom or something like that. I was like, Jesus, wait a minute, you know? So there's some really mean people online.
Yes, there are. Yeah. Speaking of which, how would people not find you personally, like come to your home, but if they want to find you online, do you have like a Facebook and Twitter?
Oh yeah, our Facebook. We've been very fortunate. And because this day and age is without you having a name star or a lot of money to put on a movie, you're dead in the water. So if it wasn't for social media, Instagram, Facebook, our Twitter, YouTube, I wouldn't have been able to make this movie at all. Mm. So the fact that we have a strong base, a strong fan base, our Facebook has a little bit over 20,000 here and there. Is the reason why we were able to make this movie. So a big thank you to everyone that's been patient enough to just stick with us for these couple of years before we were able to finish that.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. So they just look up to find it on Facebook, or not just look up the Laughing Mask would be the easiest way.
Yep, the Laughing Mask on Facebook. We are Laughing Mask move on Twitter and on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. So for shorts themselves, because they do seem to be popular the last few years, the shorts themselves, and there's also a lot of the anthology films with several shorts in them. Would you recommend that for people out there, who want to make a movie, who might not have the backing yet? Because not only I assume it was fun to make, but then you might get noticed and something else can come from it.
Yes, and the shorts are cool. I've started with a short. The first one that I did is short, and actually the one that I'm working on right now is a short. It's called A Gentleman. It was through the movie. A guy from Australia, Adam Paul Weber, he contacted me. He saw the screener, and he contacted me about directing his short. It's called After Hours, and that's what I'm working on right now. Actually,
very cool.
which is really funny because Adam didn't like the movie,
Oh.
But he was. It's funny because I love to talk to people that didn't like the movie because as an aspiring filmmaker, as a filmmaker, I want to understand why. And his reasons were not technical. So he's like, it was a well done movie. I just wanted more blood. And I was like, well, I can understand that. So that's I don't take that as a bad comment. You wanted more blood, and that was not what we were going for.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a really good idea for a short. That's what we're working on next, and he actually got uh, I can't say who yet, but he's got a name attached to it, which I can tell you, man, in this industry, if you don't have a name attached, it's really hard for you to even get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So his shorts are a really great way. If you're going the festival route, for example,
Mm-hmm.
not only they're cheaper to enter, but there are whole festivals there that only take shorts. So I think that if I would have started over and if I wanted to make the Laughing Mask just to do the route of the circuit route, I would have done it as short. I would have just put the short there. It's a great way to get attention.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next short is also a horror movie.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a very innovative idea too, and he approached me with it. He sent me the script, and I've been working with him on the script, and is really cool. It had a really different twist to it. So that's what drew me to it. It was like, oh yeah, so we'll shoot it for you. And I got William, Bushwiker to come in DP for us again. So we're probably going to shoot that in February.
Oh, very cool. So, are you gonna? You think you'll stick with the horror genre, or however you want to call it?
I love the genre. I love the genre of horror, but I think that there are other avenues that we can still tell horror stories,
Mm-hmm.
but in different ways. I just don't want horror to be defined as, oh, you're doing a horror movie, then you have to take this guy, he's
Mm-hmm.
really big, and he's going to take some girls outside in the woods somewhere and just hack them.
Right.
And we just have to find the best way, you know what I mean, to show them getting killed. But so yes, I'm gonna stick with horror, but I plan on doing other mixing with other genres.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to mention when I was reading about you that you wrote a children's book that was like co-written by your daughter.
Yes, yes, I did. Yes, Aretha's Little Monster I was. She would come to me one day and she said that there was a monster stealing all her toys. That's why she couldn't find it when she lost them.
Mm.
And then I was drawing, so I told her to describe the monster to me. So I did it, and then I drew her, and I was like, so tell me where the monster is. And then she basically gave me all the plot, and I just drew it for her. And since I had already written the book with the publisher,
Mm-hmm.
they took it right away. So yeah, I have a children's book out.
That's very cool. Does she like monster movies too?
She does actually. We just got a notification from her school that she didn't want to read the books that she was assigned. She wanted to read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and she's 9.
So that's impressive.
So I was like, yes, let her read it.
Great.
Yeah, she's not scared at all. She's in the movie.
Uh-huh.
So she is the little girl that gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
So she was throughout the whole thing, and I think that showing them how it's done, it just helps out a lot because scary movies are no longer scary movies for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I assume you watch movies then with your daughter.
I do, yeah. Well, I still don't let them watch anything really graphic and hard.
Yeah. No American Guinea Pig yet. So.
Not yet, no. Because I had a
10.
bad experience at 8 years old, and my mom told me not to watch The Exorcist, and I did.
Uh-huh.
So that stayed with me for a very long time. So I don't want to scar them like that.
Uh-huh.
But they get mad at me because I have 3 kids, and both of the girls are in the movie, and they get mad at me because they're like, we saw you editing the entire movie. Like, how can you not let us watch it if we literally seen the scenes hundreds of times?
Uh-huh. Well, were your parents always cool with you watching the horror movies?
Oh yes, my mom was a driving force in getting the movie done. She is actually, my mom is the first person. She got me my first investor,
Hmm.
the person that actually put the larger chunk of money for us to do it. It was through her. I wouldn't have made the movie if it wasn't for her. And she worked on the map with my sister too. So she's always been very supportive on me doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
She's
Do,
she's like, I don't want to see it, but it's a great idea.
do you remember like how old were you when you really thought, this is what I want to do? I want to make movies.
Oh man, I was by the time I realized I was about 9, and I by 10 I had a book, which and I watched and I still do every Academy Award, and I would write down every winner of every single Oscars for years since 1990. So it's been something that I wanted to do for years, and until I came to the United States was something that it was kind of you say like a pipe dream, something that it's unfathomed for you to even get near it. And I have to go again to that. There are 2 interviews. There's 2 people that really inspired me to do it. One was Kevin Smith, and the other one was Tarantino, because one guy was working at the convenience store and the other one was working at Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear them saying it, it's like you just have to have this idea, and if you persevere, you can do it. So that's why we've tried so hard to get this movie out there. And if you have the chance to see, you see that there's some spots, especially with the audio, that were a little rough. That's because the person that was working on our audio, he basically in the middle of the production, he just took off. So we owe a lot to the Florida Institute of Recording Sound and Technology for allowing their students to come in and take over, because this gentleman got the portion of the budget that was allotted to audio and decided that he was going to move away.
Oh wow, that's too bad. But glad that you still got it finished anyway.
Yeah, true. Because people really took to the project. It's everything is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize how expensive it is until you start doing it. And then it was really great that we shot in 4K, because it's new. I don't think there is a independent feature within our budget that has shot with the equipment that we did.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't think there is, but there is a reason for that. It's not that they can't get access to. It's because to edit that thing is a nightmare.
Yeah.
You're talking about terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of footage,
Uh-huh.
and a computer that you have to get through the 2 years process that we had of post production and adding scenes and doing other things to it. It killed 3 computers.
Yeah. Well,
We had the guy that was working on our visual effects guy. He called me up and it was like 10:30 at night one time. He goes, "Your movie killed my computer. It's really a killer movie."
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking. I mean, yeah, I had a lot of videos, but they're just stuff for YouTube, and a lot of times I'll render them when I go to bed because it'll take 6 hours to render a 40-minute video. I can't. And that's just for YouTube. Never mind, trying to render something that's gonna be seen on the big screen and whatnot.
Right. But just to give you an idea, just to render not in 4K, because there's we can't show in 4K anywhere. There's no projectors. So when we showed it at the theater in Lake Mary, just for the investors, it was just an investor only premiere that we did November last year, and just to do that one print, because we did a DCP package for the theater,
Mm-hmm.
it took 4 days.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then it failed. So you lost 4 days.
Uh-huh. That's always the worst part. Is
Right, and then you get I work with Premiere, and then you get they make a little like and then in the middle of the night when you hear that coming up, it's like your stomach just drops.
Uh-huh.
So just 4 days of work just went nowhere, and then you have to put your computer through hell and thank God I had Apple Care, because by the time I was done with it, my CPU was gone. I took it over there, and they were like, "What were you doing with this thing?" There, I'm like, "Never mind, Apple Care, it's covered."
That's awesome. Well, really good luck with the movie, and if it's either showing somewhere at like a convention or a festival, some people check it out. But also keep an eye on your Facebook page, on the Facebook page, and whatnot, because as you said, the movie will be available eventually for people to see.
Right, really soon. We actually, I had some really good news this last week. So it's just a matter of signing some paperwork and getting some things done, and we're going to be able to give an actual date out, or to give more concrete information real soon. Before that, we're still until I lose control of it, because once it goes to the distributors, I kind of lose control of how they're going to release it, where they're going to release it. I'm still open to doing it in the cities. It's been a blast. Getting, small 30, 40, 50 group of people, and then I'll Skype in and I do a Q&A. Last time we had Jeff, the guy that plays the Laughing Mask, with us as well, and he is a fantastic person. He was in there since the first original one. It's been the same Laughing Mask. So you better contact me if you want to see it, or if you want to set up a viewing in your city. We can hook that up until I lose it. Then once it goes to the distributor, then of course I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Very cool though. Annabelle and I see a lot of movies at the theater. We're lucky to have some theaters that show older movies and a lot of movies that don't have wide releases. And as cool as it is to watch a movie on your computer or on your TV, there's nothing like watching it on the big screen with a group of people who also are into those kind of movies.
Correct. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. When we did it at Wolves, they had a really cool projector. The couple of times that were done in other states, also the people they got those big projectors, or one had a place with a screen already set up, kind of like a movie theater. And yes, I mean, this with our budget, I mean, it's impossible for us to get into theaters. So it's probably not going to get a theatrical release, but it's definitely going. If you want to see it in the theaters, this is probably the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. It's been great talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad that you got to see the film. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a good time. Like I had mentioned, I really liked the. I thought it was very unique with the with the, and then you explained, what that meant in his head with the music and the. I really liked the old timey music, and now it's even more fitting. Great looking villain, and it's a unique movie. There's a lot of slashery movies out there, but this one is definitely different from a lot of them, and
awesome.
A lot of really
Thank
cool
you.
visuals.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's really really weird cool visuals, which I'm always for.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll have you back sometime, and good luck in the future.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks.
This is Buddy Cooper, live, director of The Mutilator, and you're listening to us on Without Your Head, Internet Radio.